Molweni, you guys, welcome back to another video. If you are new here and watching for the first time, hi and welcome. My name is Natasha and this is a space where we share experiences, we learn and we grow. If you have not subscribed to the channel as yet, please do so just by clicking the subscribe button below. If you are a returning family member, welcome back, fam. You know the house rules. We make sure that we are subscribed to the channel, you give the video a thumbs up, we interact in the comment section below, and we share the video so that we can reach more people. Let me just drink some water. I honestly did not even plan this video, but I literally have nothing planned. Like, I have no notes whatsoever. So everything I'm going to be saying right now is going to come from the spirit and from my heart and my mind. Yeah, I come with a bit of a heavy heart today, and I think you guys might have noticed that my energy was a bit low on my previous video, and I think 2 people reached out to me on my personal WhatsApp and were like, you seemed down, is everything okay, and all of that. And to be honest, I was just honest with him that I'm just tired. Like, not even the thing of Yukuti, I'm tired because of, you know, the life's business or work related or whatever, but I'm just tired spiritually and emotionally, and I think it's starting to even reflect in my energy, in terms of my energy levels basically. And I usually come here as a bubbly person full of energy, kubone, and my past videos, actually I was very like, I was down. I don't want to say I was calm, I was just down. And that's mainly because of the fact that it's been a very heavy month for my country, which is South Africa. It's been a very heavy month. If you're not from South Africa and you don't know what I'm talking about, but South Africa has been facing a very big problem for years, and unfortunately for us, our government is failing us, the constitution is failing us, and nothing is being done, and it's getting worse by the day. And I think this past 2 weeks has just been a lot. So just to really sum up the story, the fact, what happened was that there was a girl called Ukwekwe. She's from the Eastern Cape, and she was unfortunately SA'd at her school, and the 3 men who were in contact with her supposedly during the whole incident were called forward, and 2 of them were had their DNAs taken, and the DNAs came out negative, and one of the people that needed to have their DNA taken was the principal, and he refused. And by the way, this happened last year in October, and we only knew about it because the mother came out on a podcast and she told the world basically everything that happened and that occurred. I'm not gonna mention any graphic details. You can go and watch the podcast yourself. I'll insert a clip on the screen so that you can watch it. But it was very sad. It was so very graphic. And basically the 3rd suspect was the principal, and he refused apparently to do his DNA. And obviously now that the case has been in the public and the whole of South Africa knew about it and the other parts of the world knew about it, people started marching and pushing and asking questions regarding why the principal's DNA was not taken. It was said that the DNA was eventually taken. I think it wasn't even more than 3 days. The minister the Minister of Police, if I'm not mistaken, came back to us. I think his name is Senzo Mkunu. He came back and told us that the principal's DNA was not a match. It was negative, basically. And people had suspicions, right? And I remember I commented on post Sibu Pakamisa. And I told her during the period when we were still, or rather South Africa was still waiting for the principal's DNA results. And I remember commenting on her post and saying that, what if there is an entire syndicate that is actually connected to this grape case of this young girl? And what if it involves people in high places, people, in prestigious places, and people in the government even? And if this one person who did this to this child is brought into the open and is found, then it could open a can of worms. And the only way for them to keep the truth, the entire truth, and the entire syndicate from actually revealing or coming out is for them to silence anyone who's close to finding the truth out, right? So I said that on her post, and it's just a feeling that I had. And lo and behold, after they said the principal's DNA came back and it wasn't a match, it was negative, blah, 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 then it is revealed, the truth came out that the principal actually never tested, he never gave his DNA, and that the minister gave out a false announcement. And to be honest, I wasn't surprised at all, because I remember saying that it's either the DNA results might be rigged, or someone somewhere might be bought to lie, because I have a feeling that there's something bigger about this case that any of us can actually imagine. I just had that feeling. And yeah, that came out that actually the principal never did his DNA test, he never gave in his DNA, and it made the entire South Africa go crazy. And I think the part that really just became so emotional about this entire case is the fact that so many other, women who had been essayed came out, mentioning that if justice is not served, if justice could not be served for me, and I was essayed, then I really hope that justice is served for this child, So many women shared their stories, guys. It was so sad. I have never cried so much over strangers. And I think just the realization that there's so many women in South Africa who are being essayed, even by close family members, by their fathers, their uncles, their brothers, and they've reported these cases and nothing has been done. They vanish into thin air. And some women have even disclosed that they've even chosen to not disclose these cases because nothing has been done. It's just a waste of time to even go to the police station, because the South African police system does not take these type of cases seriously. And it's so sad, because if this is the reality that we are living in, and if this is what our country has come to, then what hope and what future are we leaving for our kids when they have to grow up in the country in future, And it broke my heart so much, the fact that women were saying, what, even if I'll never receive justice, but can we please get justice for this girl? Can we please get justice for this brutal act that was performed on her body? Her innocence was taken away from her in such a bad and undignifying way, She never got a choice to choose how she wanted to give up, her innocence, but it was taken away from her and stripped from her. And I think more than anything, we would love to see justice being served, but if I would speak to Gwe in 10 years' time, I would just open all the videos and every single march that took place, people who stood for her and who stood against her perpetrators and who fought for her in whatever way, whether it was speaking about the case, whether it was sharing information, signing the petitions, going to the marches. Just, I would open all those videos, open all the pictures, and just show her that we did what we could do. Because at this point, I think we've done everything that we could do and everything that we can do, to seek for justice, to say to the South African law, to the South African government that more needs to be done. There needs to be a hefty sentence. There needs to be a hefty law implemented towards people who essay women and who rape women and who are actually found guilty of such crimes. There needs to be more that is done. And just arresting someone and them spending time in jail and having a proper meal to eat every night and a place to sleep and living their lives basically is not enough. More needs to be done. And I remember saying to my partner that the way that our president has been so silent when it comes to this case is so alarming. Like, his silence is so loud, because when it came to cases of COVID and all the other, incidents and events that were regarded as national disasters, he was on the ball. He was always making announcements, preparing speeches, doing speeches, But when it comes to GBV and the fact that it's no longer just gender-based violence, this is violence against women, against men, against kids, and it's now become femicide. It's not just gender-based violence, but this is gender-based violence and it's femicide. It's a national disaster. It's a problem that needs to be addressed, that needs to be fixed, because it's not normal anymore. I mean, there's a page that I follow on Instagram called Women for Change. And I remember at some point I unfollowed them because I was like, this is not what I want to see every time when I go on Instagram, because it was just too sad, too emotional. It was just eating up, on me emotionally. But then I was like, if I don't see this, it means that I think it's not happening and I don't know that it's happening. I need to see this so that I'm reminded that every day, every hour, a child or a woman or even a man is being molested, is being, harmed, is being essayed, is being raped, and something needs to be done. We need these constant reminders. We need to see these things so that we don't think they're not happening or forget that they are happening. And I decided to follow them again, and just the statistics of the number of kids and women who are, abused, who are essayed and raped is just sickening. Like, it's just getting worse by the hour, by the day. And going back to our president being silent, I kept asking myself, why is he so silent when the entire country has been moved by the case of this child? And we're no longer just fighting for one child, but we're fighting for every child who never got justice, every child whose case has been pending for years, every child whose case has been neglected and brushed off into thin air. I mean, after Ikeska Kwekwe, there was Ikeska Precious, of the disabled girl who was raped by 12 men, and one of those men including her brother, allegedly. And I kept on questioning myself, like, how does the president keep quiet when there's just case after case every day? I mean, we were still trying to deal with the case, and then there was a case Precious, and more cases started unfolding. And as expected, it turns out that the principal of Bergview, which is the college or the school where Kwekwe was essayed, the school institution, is under Curo, apparently, because one of the people on the board of Curo is actually the president's brother. And after discovering this information, and people obviously saying allegedly, he is actually one of the reasons why probably the president has been quiet is because he probably is trying to protect his brother, allegedly. So when this information came up, I was like, this is not shocking. It's not surprising. I am not really surprised because this explains the fact that his silence has been so loud. This explains why he has been so quiet. And I remember that one day I was praying to God and I cried so much, guys. I cried. And I thought it wouldn't be fitting for me to not come here and sit down and talk about this, especially regarding the fact that my entire YouTube channel is all about, you know, altruism, which is obviously caring for the welfare of others, you know, without receiving anything in return or getting paid for it. But I care about the welfare of others, whether I know a person personally or not. But seeing a change, not just in my country, but in the entire world, in my space, in my community, is very important for me. So I prayed to God, and I remember praying this one night, and I cried so much, guys. I cried so much because I couldn't imagine what that mother might have been going through, you know, having a child, you know, your girl child go through such a disturbing, you know, violation. And I remember praying to God and saying to God, you know what, God, even if you don't bless me with any of my prayers, even if you don't answer any of my prayers this month, or just in general, even if you don't answer imithandazo yam, but please answer the prayers of umakacwecwe, you know. I pray she gets justice, Somandla. And I remember a lot of people saying on social media that, they really messed with the wrong child. And you can tell that this child carries a powerful aura because her case moved the entire country. And I think that has just been my prayer, that she gets justice. And if I have to keep on talking about it, sharing whatever information that is brought to light, I will keep on doing it until something is done, you know. And I feel like the more we don't talk about it, the more we subside the story, we keep quiet, the more it's going to die out. And it's going to be just shoved under the carpet, just like any other case that has never been resolved and that has never received justice. So I think it's really sad that we live in this type of time where even our own government, our own president does not take things like these seriously. He's not hands-on, whereas he's easily hands-on when it comes to other topics and other incidences and, you know, other situations that we face as a country, because this is no longer just a problem. It's a national disaster. As much as, you know, we can't really, there's only so much that we can do, but I think it's really important for us to do the best that we can. And if signing petitions and marching and, you know, doing whatever is within our reach, then we have to do it. And I think more than anything, the thing that I would like to mention on this video, or the most important thing that I want to mention on this video, is the fact that women are not the problem. Because some people usually say that, yeah, but it's the way that women dress, it's the way that they, you know, the way they present themselves in public. This time it was an innocent schoolgirl who was fully dressed, and just an innocent girl. That's it. I think there's nothing else that you need to add to it, but it was just an innocent girl at school where she was supposed to be safe. And I think a lot of people raised so much valid points that if kids are not safe at school, if they're not safe at home, if they're not safe on the streets, then where are they safe? Where are even women safe? Because clearly South Africa has become a place where you're not safe wherever you are, even in your own home. And going back to the point of the fact that the most important thing that I think we need to address is the fact that the problem is not with the woman, the problem is with the men. And at this point, I don't know what needs to be done, but the men, the South African men, need deliverance. At this point, I don't even believe that it's a thing of indoze trauma and they need counseling. And right now, I think there's just a demonic spirit that is just invading the minds of men and is making them act in ways that are just so inhumane. And I remember coming across a TikTok from this one lady where she says God revealed to her that there's a spirit of
coming directly from the biggest boiling vat in hell, demons being released and entering into men. I've prophesied this to America and Africa. God is saying that it's coming to you. And the place that he showed me this kind of brutality. Minors and unaccompanied females of all ages will be the victims. Streets in front of others. In the dust, you will be made a woman by force due to the lust and violence that will be in is another. They will turn like that.
God revealed to her that there's a spirit of grape that is going to come across Africa and, different types of countries in Africa. And she mentions, and one of the countries she mentions is South Africa. This was like last year. So at this point, I'm really starting to believe that there's a very dark spirit, especially that is trying to enter into the men, not just in South Africa, maybe even in other African countries. But the way I see things, it's no longer just a physical war. It's not just the fact that men need to go for counseling, they need to get their trauma issues resolved or whatever. I think at this point we are not just fighting against flesh, but we are literally fighting against, sources of the darkness, evil spirits, and even the Bible itself tells us in Ephesians that we do not fight against flesh, but we fight against evil spirits, forces of the darkness and principalities of the darkness. So yeah, it's just been a very heavy week. It's been a very heavy month, and I think the best thing that we can just do is pray right now, and just pray for deliverance, pray to God for his intervention, and yeah, just for him to intervene, because at this point it's no longer within our reach. There's only one way that this battle can be fought, and it's by us, or rather by the Spirit, defeating, this dark spirit that is over our country.